Now then people, got a jumper on today. It's a little bit nippy. That's because it's autumn. The nights are drawing in, the temperature is dropping, and it's time for hearty autumnal food. Fall recipes that are warming, that are delicious. And we've got 5 of them in this video for you today. Do subscribe if you're not already, and then we're gonna get into the recipes right now. Our first recipe is one of my absolute favorites. Toad in the hole. What a ridiculous name. Who thought of that name? Now traditionally this would be made with a pancake batter. It would contain an egg, and then it's obviously got that really puffy rise in that Yorkshire pudding surrounding some lovely sausages. The sausages of course being the toads in the hole. Now our hack here is we're going to be using puff pastry instead of making a batter. That puff pastry is super quick and super easy to roll out. It's going to give us a guaranteed rise, which will be enough, and those sausages are really delicious. We've chosen our favourites. You should choose your favourites too. Find sausages that you love for this dish. We've made a little curry glaze to go on top, and that is going to go in the oven for about 15 minutes. Meanwhile, we will get on with making a delicious but also super speedy gravy. Finely sliced red onions are going to be the first ingredient for this, followed by some garlic. But for this, we are going to try and hit this with some real curry-versed flavours. So we've taken it on a kind of Germanic tip here. You're going to have that curry powder throughout this gravy, some umami in the form of nooch, one of our favourite ever ingredients, one that we now sell now incidentally. There's some boiling water going in, some soy sauce is going to add that saltiness, a nice bit of colour, and also just bring everything together. Touch of mustard, touch of ketchup, some coriander, and I mean look at the colour of that gravy. Doesn't that look incredible? And the smell, that curry powder really just enveloped the whole room. Let that bubble away. It was a super quick gravy to put together. Let that bubble away while your Yorkshire pudding finishes baking, and then reveal the absolutely gorgeous dish that you have created in honestly about 20 minutes. This is so quick, so easy. We were actually given this idea by a Bosch fan once at a book event. So if you are watching, you know who you are. Thank you for the amazing idea of using puff pastry for a Yorkshire pudding in our toad in the hole. Hope you like the curry gravy. Find some sausages that work for you, and this dish is going to be an absolute winner. Hope you enjoyed that. Do let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And now, without further ado, let's get on to our next recipe. The next recipe is the creamy seaside pie. Now this is a fishy pie. Obviously it contains no fish because we're vegan. We actually cooked this with Prue Leith of TV cooking show fame. That was a lot of fun. We went to her house in the countryside and cooked this dish for her. She was very impressed. You can go check that video on YouTube if you want to. So as with pretty much every decent recipe, this one starts with softening onions. But what we do now is we add nori. That's going to add a fishy flavour. Nori is essentially seaweed, and then a load of mixed mushrooms. Think exotic mushrooms, those kind of packs that you buy in a supermarket. They are going to give you lots of different shapes, and those shapes of mushrooms are going to mimic the different kinds of fish that might go in a fish pie. We've added a touch of white wine, which is going to add that lovely kind of seaside flavour, a touch of milk, we've got lemon going in there. Caper brine is actually a really nice hack here as well, because that's got a little bit of a fishy flavour. And then all of that needs to be enveloped in your favourite plant-based cream. That's going to give you that incredible creamy filling for your fish pie. Those mushrooms have cooked perfectly, they'll be juicy, they'll be moist, they'll have all of those flavours, the nooch, the white wine, the caper brine, those fishy flavours that we've put in there. And now put that to one side while you make your potatoes. Top off our mash will be a layer of potatoes that have been cooked perfectly. We're going to mash them, of course. Add some butter, some plant-based milk, some soy cream, some mustard, and a little bit of nooch to that, and just use your arm to really get that squished together. It's much easier to use a potato masher if you've got one. Well worth investing in one of those bad boys, but you could probably get away with like a decent spatula or spoon if you have to. It'll just take ages. Taste it, make sure it's perfect, and then we're ready to build the pie. pour all of that lovely mixture into the bottom of a lovely lasagna dish. That is the perfect shape, the perfect size for this pie. And of course, now we'll top it off with that creamy, perfectly cooked mashed potato. We also seasoned it just right, so we know this is gonna taste great. A little hack you can use here if you want to is to use a fork to just score these little lines across the top. And that is gonna help to crisp up the top of that mashed potato when it is in the oven. That is an incredibly beautiful dish we put together there. It smells wonderful in here. We've got the flavors of the sea. We've got parsley, we've got caper brine, we've got the flesh of those different shapes of mushrooms, we've got the peas running throughout, we've got that creamy sauce and that lovely crispy mashed potato layer on top. That is a perfect autumn meal. That's the kind of thing you want to snuggle up to on the sofa, you know, next to your girlfriend or boyfriend or housemate or mum or dad or whoever. Snuggle up, have a tasty meal, whack on the telly. So this bonkers looking recipe is also from our Speedy Bosh book. This is our goulash and dumplings. This is a European influenced dish with the goulash being a wonderful rich tomato based stew. We're gonna start off with our dumplings. Parsley is the key flavor here, running throughout that mix. Some plain flour, of course, and baking powder is gonna help us get that rise. A touch of mustard for that fire, and some olive oil, which is also just gonna make them taste really nice and voluptuous and give us a pleasing mouthfeel. Now that is a super simple dumpling mix, and what we're gonna do with them later on is to actually cook them inside the goulash. That's what makes this an incredibly speedy recipe. Another hack in this recipe is we're gonna use 2 pans. So in the first pan, we're gonna put some tomato-based ingredients, and we're just gonna let that tomato cook down. The key thing we're doing here is to just cook down the tomato and lose the flavor of the tin that is probably still in that tomato. Develop it, simmer it, and let that lovely richness develop and infuse with the bay leaf and the extra things we put in there. Meanwhile, we will get on with the base, the veg base of our stew. So, of course, we will be starting with onions, as we always do. Pinch of salt will always draw out the moisture of those onions and help them to cook. And we're gonna add some carrots in here, which have been sliced into rounds. That's gonna give us a really nice crunch, along with the red peppers that are going in. Beautiful color as well, of course. I really like the contrast between the orange and the red in this dish. And then of course we add our garlic. You don't want to add that at the beginning, you don't want it to burn. And a touch of caraway seeds to add a little bit of extra surprise to this dish. Now add in your tomato that has developed, it has simmered, the flavor has improved, and we've basically shortcutted what would have been about 40 minutes of cooking into about 20, which is always a good thing. Cannellini beans are gonna form the base, the protein, the fiber of this dish, making this into a super healthy dish. And there's just one thing left to do now, which is to pop in those absolutely beautiful little dumplings and watch them just grow and rise within the stew. That is a real surprise of a dish right there, but a really good one. It's tasty. It's been super popular on our Facebook and Instagram channels, so thank you to everyone who's cooking it. Our Team Bosh group on Facebook, they've been absolutely loving it. Shout out to all of you lot who've cooked this. You know how good a dish this is. That is our goulash and dumplings. Again, you can find it in the Speedy Bosh book, but it's here for you for free. Wonderful dish. Hope you love it. Do let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we make plant-based vegan recipes like this every single day. The next recipe in our list is potentially my favorite one. This is our butter tofu curry. We're using cubes of puffed tofu. We're making a buttery curry. This is our plant-based vegan version of the favorite curry in the world, butter chicken. But our one is completely plant-based, no chickens needed. First off, we are gonna make our puffed tofu. Pop a pinch of salt and some corn flour into a Tupperware or a freezer bag, and then pop in your cubes of well-pressed tofu and shake. It's a super easy way to perfectly coat your tofu with corn flour. And that corn flour is a secret ingredient in making puffed tofu. It's gonna help the tofu to really crisp up on the outside. Next up, get some oil in a pan and get that really hot, and then add your cubes of corn floured tofu. They are gonna really react with that oil. The cornstarch is gonna just crisp up, and you're gonna get this wonderful crispy coating to that perfectly fluffy tofu inside. They'll start to colour just a little bit. Once they've turned light brown, they're ready to take out. Pop them on kitchen paper and keep to one side while you make your curry. This is an absolute masterpiece. A touch of plant-based butter is going to go in. Of course, we want that lovely flavour, so pick the best flavour plant-based butter you can. Some onions that have been finely chopped. I hope you're good at chopping onions. I think almost every recipe we've done here starts with onions. Pinch of salt to draw out that flavour, and then your spices: cumin, coriander, turmeric, and garam masala, a mixed spice, which is going to add the perfect combination to this butter curry dish. Feel free to freestyle. Don't worry if you haven't got every single one of those. Just follow the approximate quantities and you will be good. Next, we'll add some aromatics. We've got our classic garlic and ginger, as well as a little bit of tomato puree to add a bit of richness. This is a super speedy curry, so normally we would simmer this for ages, but we're just going to add some passata. And there we have it. We're almost there. The final piece, the most important piece in any butter curry, is to add that fat. We've got some butter going in, we've got some coconut cream going in, and look at that. Doesn't that just look wonderful? We'll stir that through our tomatoey, onion-rich curry stock, and we've got a gorgeous, gorgeous looking curry ready in about 15 minutes. We already prepared our tofu. We know that's ready, we know that's crispy, we know that's perfect. We're gonna add that now to this lovely curry stock. And we have got a butter tofu curry in about 25 minutes. If you're after a hearty, warming night in, maybe serve it with some poppadoms. If you can find a vegan naan bread, a little bit of mango chutney always goes great. And of course, it's curry, so it would be rude not to serve it with some rice. We really, really recommend you try this dish. It's one of my favorites. Honestly, I must have eaten this 20 times now since we made the Speedy Bosh book. It is in Speedy Bosh if you've got that already, but we've just given you the recipe here so you can freestyle it without that book too. Do send us a picture if you cook it. We love getting pictures to our Instagram. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Have you made the butter tofu curry? What did you think? And the final recipe in our collection had to be a dessert. We had to give you something to finish this lovely feast off with. And this is our one-pan cookie, a frying pan cookie. That's right, a giant 12-inch or 14-inch cookie made in a frying pan. And we're gonna start off by making a quick buttercream with some sugar and some dairy-free butter, and just whisk that until it's well combined. You don't have to use a stand mixer, you can just do this by hand if you prefer. Next, we'll add some coconut oil and beat that until smooth. And now we've got our kind of slightly coconutty buttercream happening. Next, we'll flavor it with some tahini, cinnamon, and vanilla extract, and beat that all together once more. We've now got something that tastes amazing. The tahini and cinnamon work so well in this. And to finish it off and make it a cookie, we'll add some flour and baking powder to make sure this bad boy is going to rise. Whisk that together once more and your cookie batter is done, my friend. We're gonna stir through some dark chocolate chunks and some pecans as well. Obviously don't whisk them because they'll break. But that batter now is ready to pop into a big frying pan. Go for something that's about 14 inches if you can, and really press it down and flatten the top before decorating with chocolate chips and pecans. Pop it in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. You won't think it's done when you get it out, but it will be. Let it cool. Trust it, let it cool, and it will harden as it cools, and that'll make sure you have a nice gooey inside. Drizzle some tahini over the top to make this thing look even more beautiful. And then you absolutely need to put some dairy-free ice cream on top of this as it's warm and watch it melt. It's a beautiful, beautiful sight to behold. This is an incredible dish, a perfect end to a delicious meal. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Hope you've enjoyed this video with 5 hearty, delicious autumnal meals. Do let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to grab the Speedy Bosh book, that is absolutely your call too. But because we're Bosh, we make these recipes for free anyway. Your call. Big love to all of you. See you on the next one.